have entered the premises of Core Confidence Talent. We interview inspirational artists and authors from across the world.
This meeting is being recorded.
All right, so we are on the program. Welcome one, welcome all. We are sitting here in our virtual studio talking about the movie Concrete Cowboy, which will be out soon, and an actress from there. We're going to talk about that movie and her career in general. Liz Priestley, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for joining us here in this thing of ours, whatever this thing is.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Absolutely. So before we get started talking about cowboys and horses and whips and chains, tell us.
We have to talk about all of that? I
Hey,
don't know.
you never know.
This is a new podcast. All right.
A brand new spanking podcast. See how I worked in this spanking and whips? Ha ha ha.
I see what you did there.
All right. So Liz, tell us about you in general. You are an actress. And before we get into that, I want to hear about you and just a background about where you come from, what type of actress you be, and give us an outline on who you be, yo.
I mean, all right. Well, I actually am born and raised in the suburbs of Philly, but Philly, if you will. But I, did my first theater play when I was, still in elementary school. And I just fell in love with it. I've wanted to be an actor since I was, knee high to a grasshopper. And I basically just kind of single-minded myself to that one particular career choice, even from as a kid. I did have a few detours on the way. I mean, I'm also a musician. I am a classically trained opera singer. I am also a violinist, a pianist, and I dabble with a few other instruments. But acting was always my passion, and in particular, film acting was my passion. But again, growing up, my family and I, we were heavy involved in music. And so when the time came to go to college, there was a choice to be made about, do you want to do the music thing or do you want to do the acting thing? And I knew I wanted to do the acting thing, but I compromised and I said I would do both. So I went to school for musical theater. And I've been basically performing in theater here in Philly and in New York and some other places between DC, a couple things in Baltimore and other places for about 25 years. And then just this last year, August 2019, I got to finally realize my dream. And I'm not going to say how old I am because then you'll know how long it took me. But let's just say it took a long time. I finally got to realize my dream. I got to make my film debut in a feature film. And I, my attitude was always, if I'm going to do it, then let's go big. So I decided not to just make an entrance. I wanted to make a grand entrance. So no, in my film debut, I get to have the honor of playing the wife of the great Idris Elba and the mother of the equally great Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things, if you watch that show. So it was, really cool first start to a film career, hopefully a film career. I don't know. We'll see when the movie comes out. But that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
Oh, all right. That's cool. So you did acting and music as well. So you wanted to do both, and so you did so. So what kind of music do you do?
Well, like I said, I'm a classically trained opera singer, so that's primarily what I do. And then I went to school for musical theater, so I do a lot of Broadway songs and things like that. I am not a great pop singer, pop R&B singer. It's very hard for me to get that kind of sound. But yeah, I mean, and it's funny growing up. I mean, I did a lot of singing, and people from my hometown primarily know me as a singer. So as this news actually came out that I was in this movie and that I was, Idris Elba, like people were like, what? Liz, the singer? Liz, she's an actor? Like it was very confusing for everyone, but also very cool. So yeah. But yeah, that's what I started with opera. So I would say that's probably where my voice comfortably lies in terms of style.
And yeah, I know you had said that in your first description of your start, but I asked again to probe deeper. Ha 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 ha. That's right. And you do opera. Oh, sole mio. There you go. You're going to do a live performance for us before this interview is over, right?
That might have been it.
I'm going home.
No, I mean, it's funny. It's like people ask me still, they're like, do you still sing? And I'm like, I feel like it's one of those things you always kind of do if you've done it. I still sing here and there. I have not performed in a very long time, but I'm that girl that's cooking in the kitchen and singing at the same time, or like I'll sing. My daughter makes fun of me for doing this all the time. My daughter Cynthia, I will tell her to do something and then sing it right after. So I'll say something like, Cynthia, I need you to take out the trash. Take out the trash. And she'll just be like, Ma. I sing all the time. It's just the most random moments that you might catch me singing. But yeah.
Oh, I should try that. I shouldn't tell you where I'm going to try that, but I should try that. That would be comical. Okay, so
it's fun. I do get a lot of looks, I do it in public. I don't notice it anymore until, Cynthia points it out to me. So yeah, I do. I get some looks in the grocery store where I'll be like, hand me the beans. She'll be like, okay.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, I'm gonna go to the store and sing my order. Please hand me the condoms. All right. So your movie that you were just in, it's called Concrete Cowboy, and it's about Black folk in the cowboy culture.
Yeah.
And so tell us a little bit about this movie to begin with, before we dive deep into your experience. Generally, what's the movie about, other than it being a cowboy? So what's the whole cowboy thing?
So the overall story, what is the overall story? It's a father-son movie actually, but it's framed with this historical setting of the community of Black cowboys. So on the one hand, you have the Black cowboy storyline, which is an interesting one because you won't find it in any of the history books in any of our schools. You don't really see us in any of the movies, but there was a time when the majority of cowboys in the US were our color. You know what I mean? We've been kind of whitewashed out of history in that setting. And so for me anyway, and I feel that for a lot of people in the cast as well, it's exciting because this movie really does highlight the fact that this is a group of people that have been around since the Civil War and nobody knows about them. And in fact, I will include myself in that group. Until I got cast in this movie, I did not know that there were Black cowboys currently in Philadelphia, my hometown, until I got cast in the movie. And even then I was like, what are you talking? Is this like a fantasy story? Like, what's happening? And they were like, no, this is a real thing. And where we shot the movie is an actual, horse stable in North Philadelphia, Fletcher Street Stables. Some of the cowboy characters in our film are played by actual cowboys from Fletcher Street. So, so that's the framework of the movie. And then in that setting, you have this father-son character. So, my son, played by Caleb McLaughlin, he's been kicked out of his, I think, third school. But he's acting up, and I, as his mother, am just like, I'm done. I don't know what else I can do for this boy. And so I basically drive him in the middle of the night from Detroit to Philadelphia, and I dump him on his father's doorstep, who he's never met, and who happens to be this cowboy. So it's about this, young boy discovering who his father is, and also discovering this whole world that he just had no idea even existed. So that's the story. Yeah.
All right. And you said you've learned something from this that you didn't know about the Black cowboy history.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's not talked about a lot. What did you learn about the Black cowboy history, and why isn't it talked about a lot?
I mean, for me, really what I learned was that they existed. I had no idea that we were such an important part of cowboy history. I mean, it sounds silly to even say it in some ways, or when I tell people, oh, Black cowboys, they're, what are you talking about? It was almost like shocking in sort of like a shameful way, because again, I was like, this is my hometown. They've been here for over 100 years, and I'm just now figuring out who they are. But I learned a lot about how they work. This is a group of people that exist really to keep our kids off the streets. They start them out young. You go in and you learn how to take care of horses. You learn to, shovel poop and clean horses' feet, and all the stuff before you even get to ride. So I learned about that whole process, and the important part in the community that they play, and about how they're losing all their funding and how stables are closing down left and right. So that's what I was learning about. As to why it's not talked about, I mean, there's a lot of, I'll say, history, US history, that deals with people of color that is not talked about. When I was in college, I had the great fortune of taking a class outside of my major called Race and Ethnicity. And it was an eye-opener for me to learn about, Native American history and Latinx history, and not just African American history, and how people of color have been treated in this country, and beyond what you learn about in, ninth grade history class. But I think, as with a lot of groups of people, our history is somewhat uncomfortable, I guess, for people to hear about. So they just don't write it. They don't talk about it. And I don't know why, but this is a part, I think, that needs to be told, for sure.
Well, I definitely agree. I actually met a Black cowboy several years ago. And like
Wow.
you, I did not know too much about Black cowboys, but it kind of made sense to me. I'm like, this would be suppressed. This would be something that isn't talked about, because cowboys are portrayed in a very specific way, of course on purpose. So just like everything else is portrayed on purpose. And I know that when me and you first spoke, and you mentioned the whole Black cowboy thing and how you didn't know about that, and we spoke about how there's so many things that are culturalized and racialized as white that Black people have a large part in, but you don't hear about it.
Yeah.
And we talked about the cowboys. I mentioned Second Amendment type things. You never hear Black people, but there's plenty of Black Second Amendment people out there. You just never hear about it.
You never hear about it.
There are certain issues that are purposely culturalized and racialized as white that aren't really white, or at least more diverse than what it looks like.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And cowboy history is entirely that situation. Yeah. I mean, it's staggering when you do finally go back and do the research. You're like, this was like almost an entirely Black community for a long time, until Hollywood basically came and whitewashed it out. But
it's quite stunning when you see it. It's a surprise, but at the same time, it's not.
It's also not. Yeah, exactly.
You want to look at this and go, I'm shocked, appalled, and dismayed, but I'm really not shocked.
It's like, oh, this too. Oh,
Yeah,
add it
that's
to the
two. Oh,
list, you
okay.
know?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah,
That too. Let's put this on the list, right? Let's put it
exactly.
on the list.
So,
Mm.
yeah.
So from the things that you can say about this movie,
Hmm.
what do you feel was your personal best experience filming this movie, and do you think is a key scene in the movie, if you can say it?
This is good questions. Well, my personal favorite scene that I shot, um, I mean, okay, I know everyone would expect me to say, my my big scene with Idris, because I mean, when you're in close proximity with that man, just nothing else exists. You're just like, whoa, you know what I mean? Um, but I think that was also probably my most nerve-wracking. But I think for me, the scene I'm most proud of that I did was actually a scene with Caleb, um, where it's the scene where I actually drop him off. And I won't give anything away, but it for me personally, there was a moment. So we shot the scene at like 3 o'clock in the morning. Um, and so again, it's my first film, it's my first night shoot. And I remember there was a moment where I was waiting for them to say "and action," and I'm waiting, and I had two thoughts in a row, and the first one was I'm really tired, like, and I was surprised by the fact that I was like I'm so tired because I had been so excited about this opportunity, and I was on adrenaline this whole time. I really did not expect to be tired. Um, so that was the first thought, and the second thought was you should be. You're working. You know what I mean? It was like, oh yeah, no, I'm on a movie set. I'm giving it my all. I'm doing exactly what I love to be doing. You should be tired. You know what I mean? You're laying it all out there. You should be tired and you should be glad about that. And I just immediately, as soon as they were like action, I was like, yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? But um it was just when we finished that night, and I was able to go home at like 9 a.m. Uh, it just I felt so proud of myself because I was just like, wow, I just did a night shoot and I think that went well. You know what I mean? Like it was just, I have what it takes. I can do it. Um, yeah. So I think that was probably my proudest moment. The other thing I was gonna say was, I mean, there was a whole scene where I had to drive a car, and the car that they gave me was like every time you made a left turn, the engine would shut off type of thing. And I mean, at one point, we're doing the scene, Caleb and I are doing the scene, and the car is off. It's just coasting. And I'm like, I'm still gonna pretend I'm driving it until they call cut. But it was just really funny because I could see in Caleb's face, and he could see in my face, we're like, the car is off. The car is off and we're going. You know what I mean? But that was really fun. That car was a challenge though. It was a challenge. And I've never done that because I had, you can see out the windshield about this much because then they've got camera equipment all on the front hood and all on the windows, and there's a sound guy in the back with stuff, and so you can't see out the back. So I literally just have like a square this big, and I'm trying to like steer this giant rig and not kill myself and Caleb and the sound guy. It's just crazy, crazy, crazy times. I forgot what your second question was already.
Oh, well, maybe I forgot it too. I don't know. It could be that I forgot it too. Let's see. Let's see if I can remember it. Let's see. Eeny,
Okay.
meeny, miny, moe. If you can say, what's one of the highlights or the best parts of the movie?
Oh, right. A key scene. I'm sorry. Yeah. Um, you know, so I have not seen this scene, but I think I'm most looking forward to this scene. And I'm not gonna give anything away, but I'll just say this. It's an important scene where my son gets explained to him how he got his name, because his name is Cole, but his full name is Coltrane. and it's a beautifully written scene. And I have heard, because this movie debuted at the Toronto Film Festival 3 weeks ago, so I didn't get a chance to go see it because thank you COVID, but didn't get to go there. But I read a lot of the reviews that came out of it and things like that, and a lot of people commented on that scene as being an especially standout kind of scene. So that's the one I'm not even in it, but that's the one I'm actually most looking forward to seeing, because even just reading it on the page, I was like, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And with those two actors, I won't say who they are, because it might not be who you think. But with those two actors, I think it's going to be a beautiful scene to see. So.
It's a beautiful morning.
Yeah.
So
yes.
we've been. So this movie has been in the film festival already. So. Do you know when it's slated to be released so we all can see it, Miss Liz? Miss?
I'm not allowed to say.
Oh.
I'm not allowed to say because of the talks, the negotiations going on for it. So unfortunately, I'm not allowed to say. I just will say soon.
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 Right. Well, that's good. So what? Since you already know what the movie is, and we don't, what do you think would be a takeaway, or maybe two takeaways that somebody can get from this movie once they lay their eyes on it?
I think there'll be two, at least two, hopefully. One, I think people are going to be very curious about this community. And again, reading the reviews that came out, a lot of reviewers were even like, I didn't know that this was a real thing, and wow, I might look it up on Google later. I think people will be very curious about this part of Black history, and what I'm hoping the takeaway from that is that they will donate their time and their money to organizations like this, so that they can remain open and functioning and all that good stuff. So that's the first one. But I do think people will be at the very least curious and be like, where are there Black cowboys where I live? And then the second one, I think, is a bit multi-layered, but I think people are going to be really impacted by the father-son relationship aspect of this film, because at its core, that is the through line that really just plays through the whole script. But from that, I think people are going to really be looking at Caleb McLaughlin in his first film, big starring film role. They're going to be looking at Ricky Staub, the director, which this is his first feature film. He's done like short films before this, but this is his first kind of big feature. And I think they're going to be, blown away by the chemistry between Idris and Caleb in that whole storyline as it moves through. So that's what the takeaway is going to be. I want another takeaway to be like, and who's that woman that plays his mother? She is adorable. Let's hire her. But I will say, I think the takeaway will be the former two.
Oh, okay.
We'll see though. Fingers crossed. I don't know. I mean, I saw somebody tweeted about me after the festival. I don't know. So, you never know.
Oh, you've been tweeted.
I was tweeted about by somebody I've never even met. I don't even have a Twitter account. So, yeah, no, but they said it was a reviewer who went to see the film, and she said, I was very taken by the woman who played his mother. And then she was like, yeah, and I just found out it's her first film. And I was like, oh, it's me.
I was very taken by the person that played the mother.
I was like, oh, she was taken by me. That's so nice. So, I would love it if that continued after it came out, but we'll see.
Now, you have a very energetic, bubbly, open personality, as I observe you. So, in your acting career, what do you think is your best kind of role, and what do you like playing? Do you like playing like a mother, the good girl, a sensual sex goddess, a villain? You know, what's your role? What do you like to
It's
do?
funny. I've been lucky enough to play all of those. I I will be honest. I love dramatic roles. I tend to gravitate towards, like, if you will think of like the Viola Davis type roles, I'm all over that. I like to cry, I like to scream, I like to have a fit, I like to, snot coming out the nose. I like all of that. Um I really do. It's cathartic, it's cool, and there's a lot of that in this movie too, which is interesting. Um I do tend to play a lot of moms. I don't usually play these kinds of moms. This is a little bit different, but I tend to play very close to my personality type of kind of happy, like, who's ready for school? Like, I'm those moms. You know what I mean? So, like, which is fine. I can do that easily, but I do enjoy the dramatic stuff quite a bit. I really like to just sink my teeth into that kind of stuff. But that being said, I mean, as an actor, you get to the fun is being able to play all the different kinds. So there's fun in all of them. You know what I mean? Like, playing the sex pot is fun for a while anyway, because it's like that's not my personality. And playing a villain, I almost never get to do that. I have twice, and both times I had a ball because it is unexpected when you see my personality and you kind of meet me and then you're like, wait, she's playing the villain. So yeah, there's fun to be had in all of them, but I do like a good dramatic screaming crying scene.
Oh, all right. So, what can we look at for your next project? Do you have any other projects you are going to do? And who would you like to be on a film with, who you haven't been already?
I mean, well, yeah. Well, as far as what's coming up, I'm waiting to see a little bit. No, I'm writing. I also write. So I have a couple of, it's a web series and a screenplay that I've been actually working and developing with a couple people. So we're trying to get one of those kind of up and running and off the ground, which would be very exciting. And then, hopefully whatever comes to the pipeline. I'm very, I'm, I'm chilling a little bit because we're seeing kind of what happens with Concrete Cowboy. So in that sense, I'm a little bit, I have a little more free time. But, and then as far as who I would want to work with, I mentioned her before, but obviously Viola Davis. It's funny, my entire career, people in some production that I've been in, at least one person would be like, you know who you look like? That girl, that lady from, How to Get Away with Murder, the lady who was in Fences with Denzel. And I'm like, Viola Davis. Yeah, you look like her. Yes, I know. And this one, I think the first year that How to Get Away with Murder was on, we had the same hairstyle. So it was like everywhere I went, they were like, you look like Viola Davis. Yes, I know. And I sent her a message once on Facebook, and I was just like, I enjoy your work. I'm a big fan. I hope to work with you one day. And she wrote me back and was like, thank you so much, sis. Keep striving. And I was like, so yes, I would love to work with her.
Okay, all right. And so here's some other things here. Help out those who are watching. So one would be, what would you tell other actors that are trying to make it? What piece of advice would you give them as they're coming up through the industry?
Well, I mean, I think the biggest piece of advice that I could give is, if this is truly what you want to do, if this is really truly your passion, you cannot do anything else. You've tried other things and you know this is for me, then do not give up on your passion. It has taken me 25 years to make my film debut. And that's fine. It's, for some people it'll take less, for some people it'll take longer, but if this is truly what you want to do, you will have a lot of detours along the way, and you'll have plenty of people who try to tell you along the way various reasons why you can't or shouldn't, pursue this. But if this is really what you want to do, then be single-minded about it and don't give up on it, no matter how long it takes you. That's the only advice I can really give, because that's the only advice I really followed.
Wow.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Don't give up. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, we are looking forward to this movie.
Thank you.
And as it comes out, whenever it does.
Soon.
Dun, 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 dun. So I appreciate you coming on the program and sharing this experience with us. And it's certainly very interesting. I think a lot of people should really learn more about the Black cowboy history. And of course, from someone who hosts a podcast specifically aimed towards men, it'll be good to see the father-son interaction in that movie and see what comes of that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good story. I think people are really gonna enjoy it, respond to it, and I think people are gonna be inspired by it. That's my hope anyway, but I think so.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Miss Liz. Thanks for coming on the program and sharing with us your time and expertise and experience.
Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.